Yes, indeed, powerful people. This is another episode of Breaking the Machine. I'm your host, Ahmad the Poet. My partner Spank is not here today, but we got a powerful episode for y'all today. I'm here with some good brothers, man, for a powerful conversation, man. I'm here with brother Malik Yosef ICL, and I'm here with brother L, man, for a powerful conversation. These brothers are actually a part of a larger story that I've been talking about on the podcast of some of my trips to ATL and some of my time that I spent there. I met these good brothers, man, and we've been building ever since, man. It's a blessing to have y'all on the show, man. How y'all doing today, family?
Oh, man, spectacular. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you, brother.
I appreciate it.
I just want to say, for the impact that you left on us, you equally, if not greater, left that impact for us and on us. I'm sorry that we left on you, you left on us. And to be in your presence, brother, and to see the great works that you're doing and the proactive stance that you are taking, it's not just, inspiring, but it's motivating in so many ways. So, brother, we thank you for this opportunity to share this space and time with you.
Man, I appreciate that, man. This was an impromptu podcast episode. It's just we were just building, having a powerful conversation. I'm like, we gotta share just a little bit of it for the people, man. Just a little bit of it. And I kind of really just wanted to talk about this whole idea of international politics. What's the importance of that? And what part that plays in a larger picture that we have in just terms of like black liberation and just us growing as a people. But first and foremost, I kind of just wanted to get like y'all a quick breakdown of like what's some of y'all initiatives that y'all got working on and some of the things that y'all out here just doing in the community.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to finally sit down and in front of the mic with you, little bro. Some of those initiatives, I think, man, we can go on and on, but to be brief, right? I think the majority of our initiatives are centered around programs, and I'm using the word programs because programs are part of a greater thing called systems. And the first systems I think we have strayed away from, which is family and community. And so our initiatives are more than anything else. Our initiatives are centered around getting the black family together. The first system back in place. And that's through, we launched our after school program earlier this year where we partner with a work first group. We have restaurants, not just in Chicago and Atlanta as well, through the Healthy Eating Initiative. We also we're launching right now in the progress, won't spill too much, but dealing with urban farming. You take a look down in South America, right, where people hate them for it, but Castro literally learned how or implemented a program where they grow the food on the side of buildings, right? And so you're talking about where a lot of food deserts exist around the people that look like us, right? Or the natives or the brown communities, right? And so if it's miles before we get to agricultural land that can be fruitful for us, right? Why not learn how to do it on the side of a fence, on the side of a city building, in the lot of a building, right? So a lot of our initiatives are around community building because the first thing that most of us got away from is, especially if you are a male, you don't know how to be a son, right? If you're a female, you don't know how to be a daughter. And these things, these programs, all this stuff, even with food, what does food have to do with being a son or a daughter? We're not saying everyone's going to become farmers, but what we are saying, everyone has to grow. And if you learn how to do plant therapy through the exercise of watching produce cultivate, you'll learn a lot about yourself. Furthermore, you'll get back to connected to your original source.
I love that. I want to ask y'all just first because that hit on something for me, just about family and the importance of family, but really just legacy. Could you talk about just the importance of legacy and how to pass down I don't want to say a mission, but just a structure in terms of, because I know you guys are big into the political sphere and just doing a lot of different things in the community, but it's something that's really just like a structure that y'all have, in y'all family and just the way that y'all move as a unit. What's the importance of that, and how do you pass that down from generation to generation in terms of just purpose?
Oh, absolutely. Legacy is one of the most important things that a people could have. And then when you look at a lot of the pathologies, the ills that we face as a people, is due to a severing of ties with our ancestors, with our parents, right? We've become a single generation or a single generational people in regards to how we believe success should be measured. We don't look at success through the lineage of our bloodline of those who preceded us, and then passing that down to the next generations and setting them up for success and not failure. We look at winning as what we say, made it on my own, self-made, that whole premise, where it's a singular approach to success and to empowerment. And so legacy eradicates that misnomer. Legacy understands that, for one, it's something you have to inherit. But not only do you have to inherit just the works of your father, your mother, or your ancestors, but you get to inherit a blueprint. You get to know the rights and wrongs. You know a certain level of processes. You get to have information be made available for you that allows you to increase your learning curve, because you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to start from zero. You start from a platform where now you can build on those who preceded you, and you have the knowledge to be successful in all endeavors. So my father used to always tell me, he said, "How old are you?" At the time, I'd be like, "I'm 30. He said, "No, you're not. You're 110. You take my 80 years and you add your 30, that makes you more superior than everybody in the room with. How many people you know that's 110 years old? None." See what I'm saying? And he wasn't being funny or cute. He was being sincere. He was being serious. And if you really take that approach to growth, development, to success, you're unbeatable, because that's what everybody else does, right? When we say these different names, we riding in Detroit, you see Ford, you see those different places. Those are generations that have been able to sustain themselves, right? To pass down the knowledge of their fathers and their mothers to the next generation, and not just have a good idea, but have something that benefit and impacts the planet. Now, that's something that's just as small as a motor vehicle. Now, take the concepts that we have as far as being able to heal the planet, reinstitute, like my brother said, the premise and the understanding the importance of family, which now allow us to create institutions and programs that can heal our people, and not just heal them just for the moment like we feel drugs do, but have sustainable healing that is able to pass down through the generations. So legacy is the most important thing, especially a son can inherit, but a people can inherit.
So what would you say if you could give like 3 principles or 3 things that you could pass down to the next generation that'll keep them on that straight path? Because a lot of people talk about generational wealth and they put trust together because they don't trust the next generation to do what they're supposed to do with the wealth. And then they put certain stipulations in the trust to make sure, like, well, if you ain't on the right path, you're not the one who inherits this. What would be, if you could pass down 3 or 5 or just a few of those principles and lessons, what do you think will set the next generation up for success if they understand these concepts?
Yeah, to start off, I would say, 1, understand that you can't ever truly grasp what's in front of you if you know not what it came from, right? And so, like my brother said, we literally were taught not in front of games, not shits and giggles. I'm not 28 walking in a room, right? And it's something that we take serious. Like sometimes, we've all had conversations outside of the mic. I won't say things when he's speaking, not in an attempt to be meek and just sit in my place, but I not need to repeat and regurgitate what it is that he's saying so that you know that I know how to speak. I didn't say all the initiatives that we're in because there's some things that we are building that we know we don't need the masses to know about, not yet, right? And if you are in intimate settings with us, then we can give it to you. But that's because we know there's some laws in place universally that are only in place because of Black empowerment and Black people's ability, or they became conscious and now they want to take up the right to bear arms or whatever it is, right? Natural rights that you should. But what if we just kind of did some things a different way with more discretion? Where would we be now, right? And so, but you can't know that if you don't know why. You don't know where you come from. If I don't know the meaning of my name, if I don't know why my ancestors were in the lands that they were in, right? Because just because my great-great-grandfather might be from this city in West Africa, that doesn't mean that's still the original place of us, right, of my lineage. That's just, he might have had to migrate. He might have saw some fine woman. There's a plethora of things that could happen, you know what I mean, as to why we're now in that vicinity. So one is, don't ever try to understand things for just what you see it. Get to the why, right? And we're talking about family, right? So I don't let my brother's story, like, we have different mothers, right? And so I know his mom through him, but I know of everything else that's come from her, right? So number 2, I would just tell, in regards to family, learn that everything is ebb and flow in the sense of that child one day has to become a parent, right? And so the idea of knowing, like me and my mom have this joke right now where she's like, dude, you do know that I'm the parent and you're the child. But those roles are interchangeable at times. There are times where you don't necessarily surpass. We are martial artists. You don't surpass your teacher, your master, your sensei. That's not what happens. But you can evolve from where it is that they found their ending at, right? And it's just that. That doesn't make you better than, because could you become without them? Right? So that knowing that role is interchangeable, and always knowing, like, one of our principles when I played soccer in college was mean no offense, take no offense. So as you know that role is interchangeable, you know, okay, my mom is not yelling at me because she's angry at me per se, but I might have just triggered her at a mistake she made when I was younger or when she was younger, and now she doesn't know anything but to just get irate so that you can know never, ever do that again, right? Everybody doesn't have the patience to teach you and train you and be like, hey, no, baby, I did that. They don't even have the time, right? And so the last one, I would say, just relative to family, man, give grace, right? Like black people in America, black people in Brazil, South America, black people in Africa, give grace. I went back to Nigeria last summer for the entire summer. And they asked me what was the difference between black Americans and Nigerians in particular. I told them, I said, well, I've been all over West Africa, except for 3 countries. I said, so I'll say West Africa. So the difference is white people came into Africa, fucked some shit up, and left. And made us think that nothing ever happened to us and we were good, right? Not knowing that our diets changed, our wardrobes changed, and everything else. White people came to the Americas, did the same thing, had black people be a part of the reconstructive process, and made us think that we are now going to be this new America. They only used us for the rebuilding of what they wanted their world to be after they destroyed the one that was already here, right? Because we all know that Columbus didn't discover shit, right? And so I would just say give grace, because the difference is just that. Both places have been affected, but what it looks like is different. And so as you give grace, you'll understand truly, all right, that's pain. That pain just looked different. Oh, no, they messed up by the same dietary food chart that we got. Like there's a thing called PAP, and PAP is almost like a sign of luxury in West Africa, but it's condensed milk. Condensed milk over here, we all know is poverty.
Damn.
Still. You know what I mean? Like, what is it? Cheese on a stick, right? We know that those things are not necessarily equated with just luxury, but sometimes they are. And so the idea that being able to buy dairy or buy a certain cheese is still the same, whether you're in America or Africa, whether you're in the West or the East, that should let you know it. Not too much has changed. It's look different, right? It's just packaged different, right? Even if you look at the idea of blood sacrifices, America sells more meat than anyone else, but it's packaged differently. Those cows, those animals still get slaughtered, yet somehow if Haiti practices some blood sacrifice, it's witchcraft, right? Not knowing that they still pay homage to the entire animal that they may have used, right? Same thing for Africa. So these things have been packaged differently, and that's why you got to give grace, because pain is pain no matter where it is.
That's beautiful. I'm listening to the Braves of my brother, and I'm always in awe. You know, he sparked something in my mind that you said, what will we pass down? There's so much, right, we could say, but just veggie backing off of the legacy piece.
No swine.
I like that.
Yes, sir. It's yours. I would definitely say a principle that needs to be inculcated into our conscious and non-conscious minds is that I am my ancestors and my ancestors are me. Why is that important? Obviously, it's easy if you got a Minister Farrakhan as your father or, Martin Luther King. That's easy. But even for those who think, like, my daddy ain't SHIT, and neither will you if you hold or harbor those feelings against your parents and don't seek to understand what made him by the conditions that he was subjugated to. We have to get out of the emotional dysfunction of hating ourselves and taking it out on our parents, taking it out on those who preceded us, because we didn't like the outcome at that particular moment in which we have to deal with. But it's circumstances, some in their control, a lot of them that's out of their control, that condition them to be that way and form their subconscious and conscious mind in a way that may have produced unnecessary, unwarranted, and maladjusted behavior. But guess what? You're going to repeat it. Even if it's not the same way that they have may displayed it, it's going to find a way to resurface in you because you ignored it. And you allow hate and you allow anger and resentment to consume you, that you wasn't conscious of your own defaults, and you end up replicating that same behavior. But when you have veneration for your ancestors, you have respect, and you do your due diligence, even if you didn't have the luxury to grow up with that particular parent or both parents, but you look inside yourself and you search those who may have had some type of relationship with them, you really try to figure out who you are and where you come from. You're able to put into practice the necessary healing that allows you to not just free yourself, but free those who preceded you. And so now you pass down a legacy of love, of compassion, of empathy, of pride, and not a curse of degradation, disrespect, hate, and the inability to be self-aware and self-conscious. So I would say I am my ancestors, and my ancestors are me, because we have to become a multi-generational people to face the multi-generational curses that we've been fighting against, the conditions that we've been fighting against, right? It didn't take one generation to put us in this condition, and it won't take one generation to take us out of this condition. But we're cognizant of that, and we start to put into practice the necessary behavioral things that allow us to heal, grow, and expand upon past our current condition. Now we have something that's worth value. And now we become that people that was originally created when this planet was formed in fashion, right? Stewards of the earth, peacekeepers, right? Those who keep balance in this physical realm and in the spiritual realm. And that may sound spooky to a lot of people, but that's a real thing, right? Because when you really know self, when you really tap in, you can control nature. You can control a lot of things that may seem unrealistic at that particular moment, but you can't never have power over the elements, over the animals, over the fowl of the air, and the fish of the sea, if you haven't first controlled yourself by controlling your emotions and that imbalance, by not having the love and veneration for those who preceded you, irrespective to what you feel they did right or wrong.
And that sparked a question for me, because it's so many questions hitting me, and I wanted to ask y'all, what do you feel like is where the power base lies? Because I hear a lot of people saying, like, so much power is found in real estate. You know, it makes the most millionaires. Then I hear people say it's found in other places. But where do you feel like the real power in these big, Western societies, Western countries really lies? Is it the real estate? Is it the lobbying sector? Is it politics? Or is it agriculture? Where is the true power that, some of the most affluent and wealthy, is it family? Because I know we talk about family and passing that generational wealth down. Where's the true power found that a lot of these, wealthy families is finding that I don't want to say T code, but they just understand that this is where real change and real power takes place. Where's that power taking place?
Let's say power. One, you got to define it, and we have a definition for it, right? And I would even share that power is literally the ability to influence anything or anyone for an exact outcome, right? Power is literally the ability to influence anyone or anything for a particular outcome that you want, right? And so when you have a definition for it, you can identify it. When you're dealing with sales more than anything else, or these commodities that Amazon, all these things, right, these companies, the biggest thing is solve the problem, right? And that's why you have these habits of effective people in life, and why there's more than 7, but these books, they seem, these little self-help books, but they're real, right? There are things that people have problems with, and when you introduce a solution, you now have put in place a dynamic, right? You've created a relationship. Because if the person knew to put it in place, right, somebody was like, hey, let's create microphones. And now they have a power to a degree, over a month. Because if they stop reproducing these, in some way, somehow, these start glitching, guess who you got to go to? I don't know how to build a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you went at this table. You got to now go to them to get it fixed, right? And so, but that's a Western way of controlling it, right? There's another way of introducing those things to do what Big Bro just said, tap into what the thing is at its nature. And that's why I said one of the first things I would advise people and their families, get to the why. That's what I'm ultimately saying with that first thing of don't look at a thing for what it's showing up as. Get to the why. Get to the why of a thing exists, and you'll see why it exists. You'll understand why it exists. You'll be able to identify it at its core. And so that's what you see, the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, so on and so on. But then you go to Mansa Musa, right? Then you can go to some of the African families that exist today, and what they control are just the things that we absolutely need, right? And so when I said the white man went into Africa, messed it up, and left, they made us, what he introduced was a new set of values that made us start separating from our old. Now even, my brother, you can speak for it, you can go home to the continent, and you'll see people dressed in fake Louis Vuitton and Gucci and all these other things. But some people may think, oh, man, they're trying to be Western, to a degree. But the other part is those clothes have been priced considerably cheaper than the actual fabrics of Africa, because they're controlled by particular countries. And so now the goal is to make you put value subconsciously on Gucci and Louis than your own homeware. What's the proper word for it? your own
cultural garments.
Your own cultural garments, right? And so there's so much to that question, but you look at power, you see people identifying a need and then coming up with a solution. And that's what, if you go throughout history, you'll see that happening again and again. From, I can list a plethora, even what we call dictators and tyrants. They did the same thing. A need was there, and then they created a solution. Whether you like it or not, it happened, right? You go look at the movie V for Vendetta, the reference. So
that's deep, because it makes me think about how some people create the problem and then they bring the solution.
But see, that again, that's the Western way.
That's why I was
the way of doing it, right? Like literally, I used to get fucked up in economy and economics, because I was like, bro, this supply and demand thing doesn't make sense. But then they introduced another word called open market. And we know the difference between open markets and closed markets. The closed markets are more of a bartering system. That's what NFTs just tried to come back and do. That's what crypto is coming back to try and introduce and things like that. But people will have you think that bartering is a slave-like, barbaric thing to do. Bro, the world barters. You see all these athletes and entertainers, they're not paying for all these clothes that they're in. Okay, if I give Burna Boy this, then you know how many people like Burna Boy? If I give Chris Brown this, a lot of people like Chris Brown and want to be Chris Brown in some way or fashion. So now I'm going to go and buy what Chris Brown is wearing in an attempt to be him. Because more than anything, like you said, you don't know if family is power. Family is absolutely power. Because you look at any person's insignificant thoughts about themselves, any insecurities a person has, it started from what they are or aren't in the house. So family absolutely is power.
I love that. Because I mean, it's just we hear about just different families and how they're moving, and we talk about this, like you talk about the show The Billions and House of Cards, and just watching these shows, you see that it's a lot of power in politics, but we don't really know where it's at, and oftentimes this is stuff that happens behind the scenes and not the stuff that happens really more so in front of the scenes. But why would y'all say it's important to somewhat get into politics or get into that space? What's the true power behind actually moving in that space, or is it somewhat of just knowing where you can where you can use a certain influence or where you can use a certain resource, or is it like in the traditional sense that a lot of people saying like the vote is what matters? Like where's the true power lies in politics? Because I've never been really into it like that, because I didn't really see where the power lied in it.
Sure. We use words a lot of times and don't understand the meaning of it, right? And if we don't understand the meaning, we don't see the real life application of that word, of that concept rather. And so if you reduce politics simply to what we perceive it to be in the West, a process of voting elected officials into office, and seemingly that be it, then you don't understand politics at all. You know, but we kind of do because we use it in other contexts. But then when we start to see the power, we get afraid of it. We'll say, well, you don't understand street politics. Meaning that it's laws, codes, ethics, rules that if you break, you know, there's a certain level of punishment. But if you adhere to them and abide by them, there's benefit, right? You don't understand the politics of this family. Politics is simply how a group of people interact with a set of rules that govern them. Their culture. That's the most simplistic way and holistic way to approach politics. Yes, politics have been weaponized against us by Western forms of government and Western thought. Absolutely. But they're not the perpetuators of politics. Politics existed long before they even came into the understanding of how to wash and clothe themselves. You know what I'm saying? Africa has been governing itself under a system of politics, cultural systems of beliefs, ethics, morals, and an integral system that governs and protects the people. So we need politics. Now, are you asking, well, do we amalgamate or integrate into Western politics? I say it's absolutely utility in that, right? Because if you're going to create your own system, but also be able to utilize the current system that can have benefit if properly utilized, you have to do so by infusing yourself in, at least knowing what it's about and how it works. You see what I'm saying? Because whether you know how it works or not, it's being used against you because it's a system and people agree to this system. People work within this system. And you see what I'm saying? And they leverage that system for their benefit. So why wouldn't you position yourself to use a system to be able to garner the necessary resources to help build your system up and develop yourself in a way that now you can have the ability to determine and define your reality rather than somebody else? See, we got to be more mature in our thinking. We act as children and think that we're going to get something by just wanting it. If we cry loud enough, somebody's going to bring us a bottle. You see what I'm saying? If we throw a tantrum, they're going to give us a toy or something of that nature. No, but as adults, as men and women, we have to do for self. We have to be intelligent. We have to be strategic. We have to have plans. We have to work those plans, and we have to see them through till they become materialized. And that's what we have to understand. That's the process of politics, man. This is politics right here. You see what I'm saying? We're operating under a sense of respect. You know what I'm saying? We have not just rules in the sense that you can't do this or you can't do that, you know what I'm saying? But we got rules of engagement, you know, how we communicate, what we're communicating about, and the outcome that we want. And then from this conversation, power is going to be produced because we're informing the people, we're educating the people, and we're giving them a whole nother way of, or a different perspective that now that they can utilize themselves to be able to advance their own personal and collective agenda. That's politics and that's power, man. So yeah, we need politics, man. It's essential. And I would say this in closing, you know, kind of keeping everything in line. When you talked about that power, the question you asked El, he answered so eloquently. You know, I just did a convention on reparations just last weekend. I was in Atlanta. And one of the questions that was posed to my breakout room on our panel was, what do we do with the reparations? And so people said, let's buy land, let's buy houses, let's buy stocks, let's buy real estate. Fine. Absolutely. You need all the things that people need to govern themselves. But what about if we invest in one another? What do I mean? What about if we come up with an actual strategic plan about what's best for us? I mean, just 3 or 4 core principles. And then let's invest in ourselves that all of us are not just at the surface, but we're operating at an optimal level that we can function within that agreed upon plan. That means that if we know you have a gift at podcasting, what do we invest in you to make sure that you're the best podcaster that we need, not just for yourself, but for our people? Meaning not just that you have the equipment, not just that you have the guests to come on, but you have the encouragement and support, right? And the necessary information to be the best you can be. That's what we got to get back to. Because if we buy land and we don't invest in each other, one, we're giving the money back to the enemy, but then we're not going to be able to service the land because we're not going to appreciate it, and we're going to end up losing it anyway, right? Just like Twitter. We keep saying how terrible Twitter and Facebook is, but every time somebody come up with a black alternative, we don't do nothing with it. You see what I'm saying? So we have this disease that when it comes to what it really takes, that means invest in ourselves, invest in one another, we really don't want to do it, surface it, right? We'll do things that is acceptable by the dominant society, but when it comes to really do what's empowering, we refuse to do it. Rothschilds, we talk about how powerful they are because they invested in themselves. He made sure that all his sons had a particular city and a stronghold and a bank in that city where they were able to have global power. But they kept their money within. They invest in themselves so much that they practice incest. As I said, they marry their first cousins because they don't want to lose the opportunity of holding and gaining and continue to hold that power within one another. You see what I'm saying? Now, we ain't gotta go to that extent.
Yeah,
I'm saying,
damn. Woo.
but I'm saying that's what people that's serious do. No matter how sick and twisted it is, they want power and they want sustainable power. You get what I'm saying? What are we willing to do?
I think even to add to that, right? Even when in the beginning where you mentioned talking about the values, the ethics, the religion, the languages, we've been duped again to thinking that that's not power. You look at ask 7 black people where they want to go in the world. I promise you, maybe 2 or say 3 people might say a country in Africa. They might actually name it. I'd say 1 person might actually name a country in Africa. Maybe 2 to 3 people might actually say Africa, right? And it's because we have literally fallen victim to believing. We don't even know it happens, right? We want to go to Bora Bora. We want to go to Paris.
Yeah.
We want to go to Spain. Bro, we want to go to the places that we went and taught what even simple things as bathing was. That's where we want to go. We want to go to Paris, and that's the fashion capital. Have you never been to Senegal? Have you never been to the Gambia? Have you never been to Ghana, Nigeria? You think Paris is the fashion capital? And so we get addicted in our own selves, right? Because that's just what happens when you misabuse power. You literally create a hierarchical system where those at the bottom are vying for what they think is happening at the top. Like you said, the self-made concept. Bro, I know far too many educated white men who got some power, and I promise you they believe in bartering. They're not paying. What is that price for that vase? Oh, it's $20, Bill. All right, here's $20. Ma, that's a nice vase. Oh, yeah? I saw those shoes you had on. Hey, man, let's trade them. That's what's happening, right? And so we no longer believe in our own cultural values because we just don't believe in creating culture. And we've taken on a culture that doesn't belong to us, and we're trying to use a culture that's oppressive to escape oppression, which is crazy. So I think even with power, even adding to it, power is, politicking is moving power. But we have to be able to identify what it is that makes us powerful. And we can't step away from that ever again. We can't step away from family. Can't step away from, like what he was saying with the ancestors. Saying we are not our ancestors might be the dumbest shit we've ever come up with. And we've been on this earth for a long time.
That's real.
That is the dumbest shit that we've ever come up with thus far, bro.
To disassociate from
everything that made you capable of putting your 2 feet into some shoes, or if you want to walk barefoot because you high or whatever, because you just want to be grounded. You want to disassociate yourself from that? Bro, tell me what other group of people do that. What other group of people do that? To the point, look at Disney's, all of their top hit movies, the what is it? Animated movies, right? The Avatar. Like what? Won't even go in that one. Coco. Moana. What is the We Don't Talk About Bruno one? I don't even know that one. Enchanted or something like that. Excuse me if I mispronounced the actual name. But like, bro, why are they all of a sudden coming out with these things, right? And so again, not to make it all conspiracy, even though truth can't be conspiracy, right? But it's just understanding that politicking is literally moving power. But as a group of people, we got to start identifying what made us powerful in the first place, and stop coming up with these idiotic sayings and tropes of black people can't come together. There's 3 of us right here. We just left an event where there was nothing but black people. Go to a sports event, it's black people. Go to a lounge on the black side of town, it's black people. We can come together. We just got to put back value in the things that make us come together.
Gotta be intentional. It's crazy that you said that thing about we are not our ancestors, because I never thought about that. But it's like we disassociate ourselves from the struggle of our ancestors because we think that's where the power comes from. But other cultures, they relate to it because they like, this is what made us. But we don't look at it like that. Like we look at it like it's a source of shame. Like, nah, well, I ain't them. You ain't gonna do me.
I ain't African.
Yeah, damn.
So, what?
Yeah.
You realize you have to check the box that says African American on anything related to the government? So why are you not African again? But again, right, pushing the conversation toward where we was wanting to go anyway, people are unaware of the why. And so they think politicking, like my brother said, they don't even know that you street politicking because you're in a situation, right? In LA, you ain't wearing blue in certain places. You ain't wearing red in certain places. Does anybody own the color red? Does anybody own the color blue? But you understanding the value that color has in particular places. So now it's time for us to elevate it. Understand your local politics. I'm not telling you to get ingrained to the point that you solely believe in changing this system. It's not ours to change. But I am telling you, understand it to a point where you know when and when not to participate. Then move up from your local, right? Go international. Go statewide. Go national. Then jump over international because it all connects. Nothing is without the other in this world.
Would you say organization attracts politics? Like when you create a nonprofit, you create an organization, and then like the political help or assistance, the resources, grants, whatever the case may be, it'll like follow you? Because I it's a phrase, value chases, money chases value, not value chasing money.
Absolutely. Organization, again, we use this girl, I think we met her in Louisiana. I won't say her name, but shout her out. She said we keep arguing about African things in English. And we're saying organization. We're saying groups. We're saying, what are other words that we use? Teams. We're using all these words. And even saying family. But that's the first organization. Break down anything into its core. That's the first organization. So hell yeah. If you have a strong family, who's not attracted to that? What do we all want to marry to? Even take the most broken, fragile person. What do they want to have? They want a strong family, whether they come from them or they get married into one. So how is it that we want some things, but we won't fully participate in making sure that they are either reality or they become our reality? You know what I mean? Like if we're not actively assisting it to becoming reality, right? So, yeah, man, organization 1,000%, it's power.
That's deep. It make me think about growing up in small cities. It is the families that really change a lot. Like it's always those specific families.
You know those
like,
families. Oh yeah, the Bufords. Oh yeah, the Nazi. You know them, and they're known for doing what they do. I don't care if it's something as simple as corn. That's the Corn family. Oh yeah, man, they got some good corn. Go down the street, and you keep moving that up. Graduated.
It's crazy because we're conditioned to think big picture, and I keep putting out the big picture, and y'all keep bringing it back to the small picture, which I like that. You know, it really is family, man. It really is family. Like
the details that make the big picture.
So how? And I wanted to ask y'all this in closing. How do we connect all this back to the motherland? Because we talk about doing work in Africa and connecting things. Y'all do a lot of work and a lot of travel over there. But how do we really, because we got a lot of figures, you know, in the conscious space that talk about, you know, connecting, you know, that the Pan-Africanist movement and all this other different things. But how can we really start on like a ground level? What does it start with? Does it just start with us culturizing, like, you know, getting used to the culture, or just like getting a better sense of self-identity when it comes to the motherland, when it comes to our people? Like, what does that actually start with? Does it start with commerce? Because people talk about how we need to do commerce overseas, and I'm hearing all these other people, Diddy, Akon, all that, like, oh, man, there's opportunity. I heard T.I. talk about it. What does it start with? Us, like, starting to form that connection back with the motherland?
Let me say this, and then I want Big Bro to expound on it the way that he knows how to, in regard to me. When you get back connected, you got to go through those channels that we mentioned earlier, right? You got to move through where my parent from, where my daddy from, right? Rule number one in L.A., they say, where you from, right? We got to take that and hold that dear, right? we got to understand that our vernacular is not learning different ways to speak. People think Spanish, I think it's French, Italian, those are languages. If you go to a linguist, someone who studies linguistics, they don't think that those are Spanish. Those are actual languages. They think they're dialects of the Roman language because they're so similar, right? You go into Nigeria alone, you actually have different languages, right? That people might think is all Yoruba or Igbo. Bro, there's so many different ones. But I'm saying languages because understand how we talk, understand how we communicate, right? Going back to your original question of Africa, as you understand how we communicate, you're going to get to see why it's imperatively important for the black person in America to know where they're from in Africa, because then you'll rid yourself of the cultural norms that you've accepted in the West, spirituality-wise, and understand that religion and spirituality are different, right? You'll understand dress-wise, your conversation, you won't even want to sit at the table of elders and speak anymore. Not because you ain't got nothing to say. You'll learn a true hubris approach, right? You'll literally move with humility because you know, okay, Amat is boom, boom, boom. Yosef is, and there's no need for me, right? Like I said earlier, I don't overtalk him because we share the same points. So unless we're being directed, given different questions, then we'll speak to him, right? But that was the first time I had to say, oh, let me jump in. But for the most part, we've ebb and flow without ever, hey, you want to take this one? You want to take that one? It's a practice. And so we are African, we ain't practicing being African when we're in front of you. That's our personalities. We're not the Westerner living in Africa or vice versa, right? And so, not to be long-winded, but get to your why quick. Get to your why and understand that if Africa is the origin of all humanity, it behooves of you politically to understand the culture and the infrastructure of Africa so that you can bring it fast forward. You can understand why somebody from this region would want to come down and take the resources and bring them here. Get to know that why, and then you'll never be lost upon why it is that somebody don't like your skin color. That don't mean you don't slap a motherfucker for insulting you, but you won't be so quick, right? It's like being on the court. You play ball, I think. Mm-hmm. We're going to tell Ben. But you ain't fit, bro. If somebody in front of you and they talking trash, you're literally going to laugh. You're going to laugh. Bro, what are you talking? You don't even play. Mm. And then after you score, you're just going to look at them and let them feel the shame of talking shit when you really didn't have the skill. You was just trying to take me off my game. Mm-hmm. The black person in America has let the world take them off their game. And it's now imperative to understand that they only take them off your game because you're playing the wrong sport, right? And so saying all that to say, man, I think it's just important to your question. Get back to a place where you truly understand why Africa is what it is. And I'm talking about in a political way because, again, power. Identify why Africa was so powerful and still is. Mm-hmm. Because if it was as weak as we try to make it to be, why everybody want to still go there? We're talking about actively. China is actively in West Africa. Russia is actively in Northeast Africa and other parts. These are big power players still actively in Africa. Why is that today in 2023? And so as you understand that, because I feel like we've had a surface level conversation, but we've given some neat tricks for people to go and dive beyond. Please, please, please understand why you had to get moved, whether it be through a slave ship or you left. But why you came to America, then go back. Go back and receive the reception. In Ghana, they say, Akwaba, welcome back. Mm-hmm. And they will tell you how much you've been missed. So I think when you get to that point, man, you unlock the doors and you move in a way that forever lets you be the spook who sat by the door. Mm.
Mm. No, it was beautifully said. I mean, if we just had to have some points, right? First thing you can do without spending one dime is acknowledge to yourself, as El said so perfectly, that I'm a descendant of Africa. And I mean, irrespective to what your personal, political, or religious belief may be right now, Muslim, Hebrew, Christian, FBA, whatever, whatever your persuasion is, socialist, whatever, communist, capitalist, as a black melanated person on this planet, I'm a descendant of Africa. That first is like when you really accept that, you see that you have a connection to that land culturally, dietarily, physically, spiritually. Then you say, okay, well, the reality that we live in now, we don't live in a nationalistic world like that. We live in a global world, right? Everything is affected by global politics. And no nation in the last 200 plus years, I would say probably 300 years, has been able to have any real substantial power without its participation in raping of Africa. If you look at Britain, you look at France, you look at Portugal, you look at Spain, you look at Russia, you look at Germany and Nidova. If you look at, America, go on and on and on.
Forget America.
Yeah, please, let's not forget America.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's been able to grab a sense of global hegemony through Africa. Everything that we need at this present moment is found in Africa, technologically, pharmaceutically, far as agriculturally, and even real estate. So much land that's been untapped. They keep talking about the planet is overpopulated. It's overpopulated with black people. But it's so much land mass that hasn't even been touched yet that is habitable for our people. We got to go back to Africa. Because if we're talking about having real power on this planet, I mean real power economically, socially, politically, geopolitically, the black man in the West and the diaspora has to reconnect to the continent. And he has to see the uniformity and the unity in those two groups coming as one people. And if you want to be in America, if you want to be in the Caribbean still, it's up to you. But to disregard the very land that produces the substance for the world is just foolish. It's just foolish. So when you're talking about why it's important to get to Africa, because if we're really talking about power and we're really talking about reshaping and reformulating this planet to be in harmony with truth, justice, and equality, you have to return to Africa. Some people are going to have to be there physically. Some of us in the West will have to turn back physically. But everybody's going to have to turn back spiritually, right? Everybody's going to have to turn back historically. Everybody's going to have to turn back to a way that they see that the resources that are found in Africa, the greatest one being the human resource, is the only thing that's going to change our condition. And if we understand that, really understand that and work like tirelessly at that, then we'll have some real power. 'Cause like my brother said, China is trying to become a world power. What's the first thing it did? It went to Africa. India, the Arabs, who created some sense of religious power and stronghold on the planet, because Islam is the most practiced religion. How did they do that? They spread it through Africa. So actually, some of the most avid Muslims on the planet is Africans. You see what I'm saying? So, my facts. So we're saying this to say, in this sense, brother, that we have to reorient our thinking, man. We've been under a psychosis like any other in the history of a people, that we despise the very thing that gives us life, that we hate and have such a repudiation towards the very thing that can protect us and heal us. As my brother said, it's another type of power that's found in African spiritualities, right? And that's even for those of us who practice Abrahamic faiths. But if we look at it through the lens of Western European thought, man, we destroy. Because both of us can't serve the same God and be right. I want you to understand that. The same God, Jehovah, El, that black Jews pray to and white Jews pray to, can't be the same God and both of them be protected. Because it seems like they're doing two different things. Or they really not. Get what I'm saying?
Ooh, yeah.
So we can go deep into that, but I know we on a time restriction, so we ain't got to, let's say, have that conversation. But the point of the matter is that we got to turn back to the continent. That's why it's so important.
And there's one more thing that I want Big Bro to expound on too, right? We're talking about politics. You're talking about moving power again. I keep coming back to these things, kind of give them definitions, because again, while we left this conversation surface level, I want people to have some things they can go and build and go down the rabbit hole, right? As we all did, as I know this to be true. There's a word called cognitive dissonance in psychology, right? It's where your beliefs and thoughts are in direct opposition of your actions. We don't understand that our power and our cultural values and our cultural norms as the African personality in America is why Kim Kardashian exists, right? It's why tanning beds exist. Let me see. It's why we have a weave. There's so many industries built off our truest personalities, like our truest sense of self. Our truest sense of self. There's industries built off of making people look like us. I think 2023, last year, aesthetics and beauty might have been number 2 or 3 on the list of most growing industries. And the reason being, bro, we've been in style. Like in ATL, when they was like, somebody tell you light skin ain't in style no more. Bro, black people been in style.
Mm-hmm.
We can't go nowhere. You look at Asia right now, street culture is crazy. When did the Asian ever dress like that? But it's because we are arithmetic by nature. No matter what you give to us, we're going to spin, remix it, and throw it back in a better condition that you gave us. But it's time for some of us to stop trying to remix everything and just be us. And learn the power and value in that, because what the uprising should have showed you in 2020 is that every single national, most of them, brands went and turned their screens black, turned their websites black. We stand with. But you know what they didn't want more than anything? They didn't want that dollar to be affected. And so I'm not finna preach about the black dollar and all that stuff. But I am saying understand value to the point of cognitive dissonance, because sometimes our participation in their world is exactly why we still at where we at. Because we don't understand the value of what we are, right? This ain't a conversation that's new to us, even though with the mics and stuff and this light that's making my back and my neck sweat. You gotta, like, hey, man, you ain't even speak English, but still, this ain't a conversation that's new to us. This is how we grew up. And as we have formed together through Ben and everybody else, this is a conversation that persists. But we have to make sure that we connect before we get into geopolitics. Let's make sure we street politicking. Make sure we politicking and making sure our brother's straight. Make sure we checking on ourselves. Make sure we having a regimen. My brother sent me 2 weeks ago, I body shut down, just moving, going too hard, not taking my supplements. So he said, hey, bro, you need to get on this. Hey, you took your, and I, like you said, not to be in a pest, not to be annoying. I'm 28 years old. He's 35. We grown-ass men. But if I care about my brother the way I care about myself, bro, we gonna win. The problem is some of us just don't give a fuck about ourselves. So before we get into geopolitics and we understand family is power, you got to understand you matter. Right? All these black voters, black lives, all these people matter. Okay. But you matter at your core too. So you got to be able to take care of yourself. And because that's probably one of the most revolutionary things you can do. And so the reason why I wanted to have Big Bro expound upon that, because you're talking about somebody who actively is always transforming. Me as well, but he's a little older, so he can contextualize it in a different way. But there's some times, even the contract we got, and I let him go on off and say this. It's a contract that we got earlier this year, and I was sick. Never had ever been, like I'm talking about ER, this type, never been like this in my life. But he was like, hey, bro, we got to go to this meeting. If you hurting that bad, I will drive you to the ER and I'll miss my flight and I'll sit with you until they tell us exactly what's going on with you. Said, but let's go to the meeting and then you could come back and rest. We go to the meeting, we secure a healthy contract, and it wasn't even about the money. Money was good. Money gave us some space to sustain some things. But we did what we've been taught to do. We built something together. And so our relationship ain't just tested upon some damn words. We literally, hey, bro, I'm missing this amount of money. What happened? Nah, bro, you actually not. It's actually boom, boom, boom. Oh, I missed that. Ain't no love loss.
Mm-hmm.
But if my brother can't come check me about something, who can? You feel what I'm saying? We saying this relative to because we all males in here. We all identify as men in here. But it got to be the same way for our sisters. Y'all all know the joke with they dropped podcast equipment into the black community to see how he had to do it, right?
Yeah.
We having all these fucking conversations about black men, black women. Bro, these be the same people. Hey, what you know about yourself? Nothing. But who build it? Who building something?
Mm-hmm.
Not you ain't even building yourself, and then you trying to go build something with somebody else. Come on, man. So I definitely want to be able to just expound upon that cognitive dissonance thing, bro. It's apparently clear why we still where we at. You know what I mean? Why we want to identify with certain things that's happening in other parts of the world because we think we know. Oh, that looks oppressive. Let me join on. Until you realize, hold on, they're the same people that's in my community, at the gas stations, at the little convenience stores, and don't like us. Got bulletproof glass up. And yeah, stuff happens. I ain't with that. But I also know there's some people that's in our communities that don't look like us who make sure they got community events, who make sure that the community know who they are beyond the threatening position. Or I could take this away from you. Hey, now what's your name? You know what I mean? And so there's a way to really achieve some power, but it's going to start with us really getting to know ourselves and that cognitive dissonance piece. If you can't know yourself, you ain't going to never be able to do what Big Bro did. Mm. There's no way I can go make sure my little brother's straight because, shit, he tired, man.
He hit it right on the head. I mean, he said everything.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, he did say one thing wrong. I'm not 35. Just to let everybody know. I'm 33 going on 34. No, but no, that
you got the 30s.
I'm messing with you. But we gotta have levity in these conversations, man, because these are serious subject matters. But at the end of the day, we family, and this is fun. You know what I mean? If we don't find this enjoyable, then we're not gonna be able to sustain it. But he hit it right on the head. Cognitive dissonance is the very practice, that very pathology, that disease that we have, particularly as black people in the Western world, in America specifically, that does not allow us to grow past our current situation. We're the only people that be like, man, my damn baby daddy keep beating on, he keep stealing my money, but I love him, as if that's love, right? Only people, damn, I can't stop smoking these squares. I know I'm going to die one day. And then go put another one, like one right as they saying that. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like we practice the very thing that we know is causing our harm, our detriment, and our death, but can't stop the practice. And so what brother was making mention to, even when you kind of asked me the question earlier about, what side do we pick relative to what's going on in the Middle East? It's like, okay, when we going to finally choose ourselves, right? Because that's the result, or that is the greatest cure, rather, to the cognitive dissonance that we face. Let's choose ourselves, even when it's uncomfortable. Let's choose ourselves, even when everybody say we should be doing something else, so they try to shame us to give us some type of false sense of guilt so they can have us or manipulate us to do what they want us to do. Let's choose ourselves. A brother may mention off camera what we were here doing in the city. Like, we giving back to ourselves. Even though we're not victim of that particular thing, we know way too many people, whether it be our own personal family or those closest to us, that's victimized by a system that's been set up for our detriment. But guess what? The system's not going to fix itself. That means it's going to take us to fix it. So we don't even have the bandwidth. And not that we don't hurt or feel for those who are facing atrocities, but shit, you got to be, I almost used a bad word. I'm passionate about it, brother. But if we don't put ourselves in position to do for self, protect ourselves, to heal ourselves, and have some power, we can't help nobody else. You know what I mean? And so that's what bro was talking to. Like, hold on. Yeah, they in war over there, but we in war right here. Literally. In every sense of the word, we're in an economic war, we're in a social war, we're in an educational war, what we've been taught and what we're not being taught. We're in a cultural war, what is acceptable now and what is not beneficial for us, and we can go down that long laundry list. We're in a physical war with our open enemy and even with ourselves. That the enemy mind is permeated such a degree that we don't even see ourselves as brother and sister. So we kill and take advantage of one another as if you are not me and I'm not you. Cognitive dissonance, man. And so, yeah, that's what we got to solve. And so that's what he was saying, like that that practice of knowing who you are and what you are and where you're from, having, and what we said earlier, having that respect for your ancestors, meaning like that's the cure to these things. These aren't just cliches. These aren't just talking points. We're talking about things that actually work, that we ourselves have implemented and seen the benefit. We're all broken in this world. You can't not be affected by the evils of this world. You can't not be hurt and traumatized. But we're saying that there is answers. There are answers. And if we implement them and practice them to the best of our ability on a continuous and consistent basis, you will see the benefit. And that's what we want to do. We don't want to have the conversation or the verbiage of change, of empowerment. We want actual empowerment. So it's time to do the work. You know what I'm saying? This is my brother all day, no matter what. But what makes our brotherhood strong is we're willing to build together. So now we have something that can sustain ourselves and sustain our family and our children. That's real love. As a men, can we show that we love each other if we don't put the necessary provisions in place, the necessary institutions in place, the necessary practices in place that protects us and allows us to live a comfortable life? You know what I'm saying? So this is what we're talking about, man. Let's build. If you really care about yourself, build something. If you really care about black people, build something. Build something for black people. Build something for yourself. Build something for your family. And that's going to be the change. If enough of us do that, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us get together and we build something and we get another group, hold on. Next thing you know, now we got our own economy. Now we got our own world. And so that's what we're saying a real life answer is, man. They don't take a lot of what we already have. Like we don't need nothing else but what we already got. And we can do a lot. But we ain't maximizing our efforts or our energies. We're not using the resources that we already have available on this table to empower ourselves and to advance our objectives and our agendas.
So where can the listeners go to get in contact with you guys? Do y'all have like an email, website, somewhere or social media, somewhere people can, because I know people are going to want to tap in with y'all. So is there anywhere that people can?
They got to go through you. No.
Well, my OnlyFans page is, no, I'm just kidding. That'd be the only intellectual OnlyFans page. Like, gotcha. You thought you was about to see me strip? No, you about to hear some Malcolm X and some Martin Luther King and some Vince Americana lives out for the next 10 hours.
Crazy, man. I'll have y'all social media tag below, man.
Appreciate it.
But I appreciate y'all brothers doing this episode
brother.
with me, man, and just sharing some light with the audience, man. Make sure y'all tune in for another episode next week, man. We got powerful episodes on the way. We got Brother Yosef, Brother Elyahmen, the poet. That's a wrap. You dig?
Peace.